because I am the knight. I am Mattman. This is probably there's new creative ways to start this podcast. Launching just like Tom Cruise, parachute for things in here. So I'm dear. Hearing.
Welcome to Retail. Well, yeah, welcome to Retail episode 8.
That's the great time, episode 8. Like, weird. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sort of. So, yes. Huge people taking interest. We've got people watching.
Okay.
The reception at this point in time when we're filming episode 8, the reception to episode 5 has been really lovely.
Yep.
To gain subscribers from that episode alone it's honestly made my day. Because we were afraid putting it out because we weren't confident with our words in that episode, not at all.
No.
There were certain points in time where I snapshotted myself.
Yeah.
Deliberately posted that picture on the podcast episode to show what I looked like when I was vulnerable.
Yeah.
So it was a tough one for me, and it was a tough one for Elliott.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was sort of, it was sort of a tough one, but I think it's necessary. I think it's sort of,
Speaking of necessary,
yeah.
Welcome to episode 8. We're third agenda. Wasn't it exciting? We're launching one new agenda already. Me and Elliot, even though you probably didn't get the memo what I was going for, deliberately choosing dark for this one. Because our new agenda is Mattman. More specifically, our case study on this will be the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah. Nolan.
We're going Nolan, yes.
Yeah.
So for many people, the Nolan trilogy is one of the best instances of Batman. Of course, like myself, I really like the Kevin Conroy Batman.
Yeah.
The original animated comics.
Original animated.
It is fantastic. I really love the way that they portrayed him in the Arkham games.
Yeah,
Arkham was good. The Asylum Big Man, Rocksteady Big Man. We don't talk about Kill the Justice League. Justice League. Might get in trouble for that because that's the name of the games. Yeah. But yeah, in particular, we'll focus on this because for a lot of people, it was their favorite. And but we'll focus on this specifically. So we wanted to break it down a little bit.
Yeah, I think towards the end, it was like 8, 9, 10. Episode 10, we'll probably have a look into the wider Batman sort of.
Yes, well, yeah, definitely towards the end of the agenda, we will compare Batmans. And it won't just be Kevin Conroy's versions. It will be, we'll talk about Christian Bale Batman again.
Yeah.
We will talk about Ben Affleck Batman.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about, what's his name?
He lasted he was a short time. Well,
It's going to be on Adam West Batman. Who's Russian?
That good, yeah.
You've seen this show. Yeah, you've seen a lot of these shows. You've seen this one react.
The rest was good. I think was he on ITV in the mornings occasions for repeats?
It must be, yeah. ITV might have been like ITV3 or ITV4.
Might be, yeah. But yeah. So what is it? Sunday morning? Just something.
You see one there, the Rask and Bang and all of that. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, this title today, we'll be written it down. We'll most likely be going with this as the title. How is wealth used for power or responsibility by the Waynes in the Dark Knight trilogy?
Yeah.
We're splitting it into 2 parts. So, as I said to Elliot earlier, we're going to do a Deathly Hallows. This, as the talking points are too similar for us to change episodes entirely.
Yeah.
So we will talk about episode 8 part 1 and episode 8 part 2. So this part, we're going to be focusing more on the money side of things, and it won't be a spoiler because part 2 will very much delve into the element of fear, how that drives wealth and responsibility. With the Waynes, because it's Batman. We all know he's a little boy that's scared of bats.
Yeah.
So that we'll talk about that. But this one is something that Elliot very much requested. Podcast idea. I had my ideas for everything that we wanted to do, but Elliot came in and stated his case with 2 just definite things that he has to come back on.
I think the topic I want to cover is poignant for where we are now. And the second one kind of comes down to my real life recently is sort of embracing fear and life and all that type of stuff, what fear may feel like,
Yes.
the effects it has on the body, all sort of stuff. So I want to kind of get a deep dive into that. Hopefully, give a nice framework in regards to how people work out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll give it a go. I'm by no means a financial expert, anything like that. But like,
Of course.
sort of, yeah, it's more of a people breakdown than it is sort of like finances.
Hence why we're using the Waynes case studies. If you're not familiar with the Wayne, go watch Mattman for one. It's really fun. It was starting the Dark Knight trilogy, for goodness sake, or whatever you do, if you're not one fan and you haven't seen the Dark Knight trilogy, that's a good thing. It really is.
Yeah.
But the Waynes in particular are notorious billionaires and trillionaires. So they're a very good focus because a lot of them used money for power.
Yeah.
And a lot of them used it for responsibility, as we know Bruce used it years constable thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Elliot. So and he's going to keep going to start this episode.
Yeah.
No trimental time as I normally do.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Yeah, you think Dark Knight, the Dark Knight trilogy interests me, just generally speaking, because like there's a lot of character points that you can kind of take from, and I kind of want to start from Thomas Wayne's point of view because it's the first character we're introduced to. Like we're introduced to him with Bruce and his mother, and it's kind of like a it's a happy family at the time. And Bruce is introduced to us as he's a nurse. He's made lots of money, but he's not interested in the money. It's why he gave his company over to, as he quotes in the movie, more interested people interested in money. And he decides to work at a hospital and just reinvest his wealth into Gotham, generally speaking.
Dr. Thomas Wayne, if I'm not mistaken, was what, yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to frame it in such a way where we kind of speak as to where we are now, where we've got a massive cost of living crash going on. And yeah, let's see, the good old times that everyone hates, which is fair enough because it sucks. But I wanted to speak on, like, Thomas is introduced to us as a very sort of genuine bloke. Yeah, he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
You need millionaires to create wealth. And that's the truth of it. It's how sort of money works. You need millionaires and all that type of stuff, and millionaires to create wealth and create businesses and all that type of stuff. More or less money as well.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I'm not saying you get money with good ideas, because unfortunately, very much in this world, there's very many very talented people and people with fantastic ideas that don't get noticed.
Oh, true.
Money helps you get noticed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the way things are.
Yeah.
If you've got a lot of money, you can push your way to the top.
For sure.
But that just gets messy. And it's really, really unfortunate that is the case. But particularly with Thomas Wayne, with the Dark Knight universe,
Yeah.
he does use that money to get people to almost reciprocate his notions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when Thomas is alive, Gotham is still pretty good. The train itself is not dirty. The train's not dirty. The city's generally running quite normally to what a city runs like. And then again, he sort of says, I gave my company away to people who enjoy money.
Yeah.
I kind of want to focus on the people who enjoy money a little bit, because the issue we have right now, or what always feels like, is the people who are interested in money, for whatever they are greedy. There's no two ways about it. They are greedy, and they don't seem to follow a moral framework. They don't still a moral compass. They totally sort of engulfed by greed. And we kind of see it this long term in Gotham, where Thomas has now been killed at this point. Unalived, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, I'm fairly certain the word itself won't get us in trouble.
Yeah.
But better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. So if we slip up from time to time and I fail to censor it, then please, YouTube, don't unalive me.
Yeah. And like, so he's now out of control of his money. His money has sort of been given away to other people. And we see that when that has happened, the people who are more interested in money, Gotham goes to crap. Socially everything's down, business-wise everything down, why crime goes up. And business, because it's the money that is now not being reinvested into Gotham. It's now being reinvested into the bloke who owns money and being their bonus scheme, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all getting their backhanders, all that type of stuff, and it's just sort of like, yeah, like why? I understand you've got to make money. That's fine. But like you've got to run on a moral compass. We don't have that now. I'm feeling wants company that isn't sorting the problem that isn't what's the word I'm after? Isn't fixing the problem it's supposed to solve, and yet the bloke is getting bonuses for some reason, and yet the workers are struggling probably. What surprised me, and it's not reinvested in the company. It's like, oh, so the engineers are getting screwed over because the worst company's doing crap as it is, and so they're getting bad press, and they're just working their 9 to 5, and yet the big bosses getting nice bonuses. It's like you can get screwed.
When I won't name this company, but I will speak from from not an experience, from a perspective that I've made that very much relates to what you've just described. We'll go to clothing, and I would say for the strong majority of people, very, very, very dark time, very, very, very pressing time. There was a lot of tolls. There was a lot of mental struggle, and above all, there was a financial crisis.
Yeah.
The fact that we had to stay at home meant that the workforce to keep the world ticking. Let's face it, it was the world, because the whole world it was a pandemic.
Yeah.
The world stopped rotating the way that it has done for the last couple of, I'd say, several centuries. Several. So it's different. So not everyone was working, therefore there wasn't a need to give people money. Therefore, if there's no money, people can't buy the things that they need.
Yeah.
Not disposable income, very much food, very much water, very much rent, mortgage. So I remember when, at the time, I had my second job and I was a university student, and it was a completely different experience. And I was made redundant, and I had no money left to my name because I was I was not yet a blown adult, and I was about to become one, and yet the government decided to introduce the furlough scheme.
Yeah.
I won't delve into too much, but as you all know, the furlough scheme very much gave us the money that we needed to stay at home, get the things that we needed, and to very much survive. For a better term, despite it being difficult, and it made it easier, despite the fact that the toll that it has had now on the state of the world, because we are behind with a few things, which is understandable. That the intentions were very much good with the furlough, And there's a lot of messy things there, and it's not my place to say. And I think for the benefit of this, we shouldn't get into that. But to say where I was going with this, there was a lot of good. There was a lot of good, particularly where I began to work, the Withen. I will name that. I will name that place. As you will see on my social media account, I have done social media work for them, and I work for them as a member of the workforce. They picked me up, plucked me out in the middle of the lockdown. And I darted back and forward. I was furloughed with them. I made money with them. I made money for them as well. So they were really one of the companies I respected. And it is now got to the point where they are phone from home, second family. I mean, you've been there as well.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic place. Intentions are pure and they think about others first. Now, there is a company that I will not name in this that throughout lockdown refused to furlough their workers, refused to give them money because, for a better term, they profited. Their whole company profit was affordability and I'll just say that affordability. And because their workforce could not come into work, the itself made the decision to not pay their workers. The affordability that they had been advertising at that point would crumble. And therefore they wouldn't make the money that they needed. Therefore, a lot of workers could not afford to live during a time which was haunting for a lot of people. And I've seen the effect that COVID has had on some of my closest friends. Both of us in particular shared a few friends. We were very, very concerned for, like, this lockdown has turned you into someone completely different. And it sucks. So to see that happen, and then obviously the company post pandemic continues to thrive, become popular again, it sickened me a bit. It was the first time I took a step back and went, "Are you for real? You can't carry on the way that you did." Obviously, the way that the world is, people move on because it is an affordable thing. And people would move mentally past the pandemic. And this company will always be what it was before. But for me, the sentiment against people's welfare is just something I just can't let past. I'm not saying sign this petition to end this. I'm not saying it's just this company. That's not what I'm saying. I don't have the power to say that. And I don't want the power to have. No, I'm not saying just like power to the people. No. I'm merely stating an opinion that I believe money should be used to survive, to live, do the things that we want to do. And if that is taken away from us because of the decision of one person to move their company in a way that will maintain their wealth as well as the structure of the company itself, then it's upsetting.
I mean, it's kind of weird. So, like in the pandemic, like I was working at the time. I was in Morrison as a delivery driver. Not gonna lie, I actually quite enjoyed it. Not gonna lie, like working around, doing working the team, all type of stuff.
Good man.
Actually quite enjoyed it. Was stressful though. It's different, like a war effort, getting all the food through to different people. But like, what was going on? I don't know what was going. But yeah, no, I sort of I did enjoy it, and no, I was going to say that.
So I'll chime in. You said that you worked as a delivery driver. It was a fun job because you knew it would be it would be, what's the word I'm looking for? The need for such a job would be so prevalent in a time where people go to the shop.
Yeah.
You're doing very much the thing that they could have done for them.
Yeah.
So it's a very mentally taxing job. You get the money and you get the appreciation of others as well.
Yeah, sometimes, not all the time. Yeah, of course. I knew it was, honestly, good job. Not because the company itself, I mean, it's a very corporate company, but it was solely for the team. The team there, awesome guys. Like, I enjoy working with them. I still, when I bump into them, other people, sort of stuff, I tend to find that companies work better when a team's good. Team's crap, you tend to just find this doesn't work. I
agree.
But I wanted to touch back onto the millionaires and wealth slightly. The minute we're having tons of millionaires move out of the country, because it makes no sense, because there's too many checks and balances going on to a degree. Like, they need to be taxed, fine. You need to, at the same time, it needs to be fairly taxed. It doesn't need to be like extremely taxed. Like, right now, we're getting taxed for our asses through most people, not just the companies. And we are now a country that's not innovating. We're just stagnant in the businesses that we already have. And we need to sort of change that. But also, I want to speak on, people are going to exploit the system. So there has to be someone in place to hold them to account, make sure they're doing the right thing. But also, like, a company has to make tons of wealth. It has to be invested equally into their workers, so then they can then buy into the economy, and they can then equally invest back into the company if they want to.
Yes.
But also, like, I want to touch on as well, like, we always come back to, like, the Matrix, where, like, the Matrix, we're introduced to Neo. We'll probably touch on the Matrix later on down the line in phase 2. No, I think about it. Yeah.
To be continued.
Yeah. We're introduced to Neo, where his office is white, pure white. It's got a computer screen in front of him. It's pure white, and the culture in the office is sort of cold. There's nothing about it, all this sort of stuff. It's kind of weird. What we have now is where we got corporate companies kind of they create value systems, but they're not sincere about them. It's sort of like a value system for the sake of having one.
Yeah.
So the workers are held to account for the value system. The company's not. So HR, for example, is a misnomer. Only thing HR right now is useful for is pay packets at the end of the month. It doesn't work for the worker, it works for the company. And to a degree, fine. The company does need a little bit of protection. But how much? Like, if you're a company that's working selfishly, no, then you should be held accountable for that. We don't do it. We don't do it at the minute. We seem to push up people who are just narcissists and just they use the excuse of business to get away with, like, sappy decisions. It's like, no, you're a human. Do the human thing. Do the service to the best of your ability, and if someone can't afford that at a time because of their circumstances, wait till another time. They'll still be, if you treat a customer right first time around, they'll come back to you. But if you're going to treat them like crap in the first place, they ain't going to come back to you. Granted, there's a caveat in that as well, where customers will kind of, they'll always become slightly arrogant on skills they don't have. You've come for a certain service you don't have, you have not acquired. You come to someone for expertise. Give them time to work on that problem. If you can't solve it, what are you paying us for? That's the whole reason we're there for it. But the value systems almost need to die because, like, they're still alive. Yeah, I'm not with. Like, we're still living in the sort of matrix dull white office. Difference is now we've got a splashy colour on that doesn't mean it's temporary. Doesn't do much. Like, humans need to be that like the human side of things needs to be brought forward rather than huge backward. We're very much sort of we're almost reptiles in the corporate world where like you just fake this language out that just does not feel natural. Like you have to like even the programs that you use to try and solve problems don't solve the problems because if you ask for a unique problem to be solved, the program then crashes. It's like, oh, we can't solve this problem. Oh, talk to our manager, who then tell you the same thing because the program doesn't exist.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
In reference to the Dark Knight trilogy,
Yeah.
which was our original case study,
Yeah.
I think what you've described is very much similar to the Dent Act.
Yep.
In the trilogy.
Yeah.
That was your intention or not.
Maybe.
If you can see what I'm saying there. So Dent's intentions in The Dark Knight was for a better Gotham. It was to put the criminals away, to reform them, to reform those criminals.
Yeah.
It very much to come very, very hard on it as well.
Yeah.
Now, Dent was a very passionate man. Dent, he had a lot of love for what he did, and he had a lot of love for people close to him, i.e. Rachel. He did have, I wouldn't say love, he had admiration for Bruce.
Yeah.
But then we saw cracks in his nature.
Yeah.
His human nature, I will say.
Yeah.
When someone tried to exploit his system, call him out for it and say, you didn't think of this, you didn't think of that. And how does Harvey Dent respond? He smooths through in the face.
Yeah.
As that moment, you can see the difference between the man that loses his temper and the man that decides to hold it with him and do the right thing. I say the man, the person, Dent let his emotions get the better of him.
Oh, yeah.
And in that case, yes, he went through extreme circumstances. He went up against the Joker, for goodness sake.
Oh, yeah.
He lost the one that he loved. The admiration for the Waynes significantly decreased. He was tossed aside by the law that he thought had his back. The police officers very much played with him. There's one they used to call him Harvey Two-Face. And he felt like everything that he stood for had been betrayed. So what did he do? He, in Nolan's representation of what Two-Face was, because in the original comics, he was Harvey Dent, who became Two-Face, like the very much that it was a personality disorder. I am two people in one. I am the arm of the law. I'm this version of Dent, very macabre. The way that his second half was revealed wasn't a second person. It was the demon beneath that was fused to the surface. The worst of Dent finally manifested. And he embraced. Obviously, he had, in reference to like our Miller Hero Academia chat, he was around a bad person, the Joker. Pushed him down the wrong path. Going back to what you then said this podcast episode of 18, if you're around people with natures that would tend to do questionable and bad things, you're likely to follow the same path. Granted, that's not always the case, but it's more likely. If you're with good people, then you're more likely to see the light. And sometimes that's not always the case with people. But I'm just speaking from a very, very general catalytic perspective here. But he was with the Joker, and the Joker basically said, like, basically everything you viewed about the law and the Waynes is right. They're wrong. Why don't you take actions into your own hands? He was a man with a lot of money, a lot of ideas, a lot of ideals, but he let his bad nature equal. In that moment, he could, he was scarred and brutalized. And it's very difficult to come back from that. For sure. But when your nature is so broken and the very core of you is frustrated, and the fact that he didn't face that head on like certain Waynes, i.e. the Ra's al Ghul training, then he'd struggle. Which is why the final scene with Harvey Dent versus Bruce Wayne and Gordon,
Yeah.
the Commissioner Gordon being there. It was a breakdown of character,
Yeah.
not a breakdown of hero versus villain.
Yeah.
It was three men
Yeah.
with good intentions.
Yeah.
One of them broken.
Yeah.
One of them realized what he had done.
Yeah.
Gordon.
Yeah.
And one of them who was still a good man, but was willing to throw himself into the fire
Yeah.
to still save the people in front of him.
Yeah.
He's like, no, he did say in that moment, no,
Yeah.
it's not that. You're Harvey, you're right.
Yeah.
I really understand what you're doing here. You're doing it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Obviously Harvey Dent buckles and becomes the villain. Like Bruce is forced to intervene.
Yeah.
At the cost of Harvey Dent's life, at the cost of his hero persona. He then turns vigilante, people think, because he took the life of Harvey Dent, the good man.
Yeah.
Batman is a bad person, which then spirals into the masterpiece, I would say. There's The Dark Knight Rises, where Bane walks straight up to Blackgate Prison and says, Harvey Dent, your hero, your White Knight.
Yeah. Well, quite
He was a killer.
Yeah.
He was, he was an unaliver. He was a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Batman lied to take the rap for Commissioner Gordon, who also is a bad person.
Yeah.
What does it do? It sparks rebellion.
Oh, yeah.
Gotham burns. People run. Chaos brews.
Oh.
When a corporate ideal is revealed, a class and intentions, good intention on the surface is revealed in the core to be evil, then the world bubbles and burns.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you put so much trust into the people that have power, that have money, that use that money for a supposed good idea, and then something surfaces like that that's represented in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Nolan represents that as... I love his choice of... Obviously, I could talk about his cinematography of his lighting for days on end. His choice of lighting in The Dark Knight Rises was very cold.
Yeah.
Very white, very light.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the reason why Batman fought during the day. Dark Knight Rises, I believe. His choice of lighting was just the clash of the darkness revealed in the light, the bleak whiteness.
Yeah.
And we say whiteness for the lack of emotion, the sterileness. Instead of Gotham being gaslight in the darkness that we used to in The Dark Knight and Begins, of this world is dark and Batman embraces the evil and he hides in the shade. In this moment, everything is plunged into light.
Yeah.
No one can hide.
No.
Not even Batman. And everyone is finally tested and exposed. Like, this is it. You either rise up to the occasion or you fall.
Yeah.
That ends my monologue.
Sure. That's true. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. 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 But yeah, I think even if actually that's a fair point actually. So if we see leaders fall, or falling, or like they have to be held accountable. Like we keep pushing sort of like I think I've said it already before. Like we keep pushing narcissists into like leadership roles, and they just treat the staff like crap.
Would you say Dent was a narcissist? Harvey Dent? I don't think he was narcissist.
He wasn't at the start. He sort of became.
He was an optimist.
Yeah.
Who then very much became. I would say he did become nihilist.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did put his life on the line. Everyone's like, Dent, your response in the scene where he was facing Mattman.
Yeah.
And Gordon. He said, I'm going to put everyone's lives on the balance who was involved in the downfall of Gotham. Yeah, that's me, that's Batman, and that's Gordon.
Yeah.
And then he aimed for Gordon's family,
Yeah.
because he thought that would crush Gordon more.
Mm.
He flipped the coin. Batman obviously didn't flip well, so he ended up going bang to Batman,
Mm.
and then he did himself.
Yeah.
I won't use the term, but then he flipped the coin and realized, okay, no, I don't have to inflict this consequence on myself here.
Yeah.
But he put himself on the line, which
Yeah.
is an act of nihilism.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But like if leaders are kind of going off the rails, it's kind of, or even now, I'd probably even say, like, they have to be called out. They have to be held accountable, sort of thing. Like, or even like you're not even not that far ahead. Like, if you're seeing a step, like, wait, not good. Don't do this sort of thing. Like, they have to be held accountable for the fact that you need to push up people. Maybe people who don't even want to be leaders, because chances are they'll respect the people who are working around them. The thing is, right now we have this weird sort of disconnect between people at the desks who organise stuff and all that sort of stuff. Find their job is necessary, but for whatever reason, they've got this weird sort of hierarchy between the guys who are working with their hands on some stuff. It's like, and you question these guys working on a desk and sort of stuff. Yeah, they go, hang on, your idea doesn't work in reality. So, like, from my experience for like certain survivors and stuff, there'll be certain jobs as a car mechanic you can't pull off in a certain amount of days. Truth of the matter is, the service provider has to tell their customer, "I'm sorry, your repair can't be carried out within within the next day or within this afternoon. Just not possible." Thing is that they don't. And also, what happens is the customer gets frustrated, and then the mechanic gets frustrated because he's under pressure because the customer's now yelling at the service advisor. Service advisor is getting the whacking from the manager, and then the mechanic also, while he's sort of fiddling around with someone's car, is getting absolutely bullied because they weren't told the truth in the first place. They were told what they wanted to hear. In regards to, oh yeah, we've got great service, yeah, we'll get it done, and da da da. It's like, no, reality is that car is not in great condition, so it's going to take longer. So, that car, be patient with it, and then we'll get the repair done. But no, everyone's too afraid to tell the truth of like what a job entails, and because of that, you get customer frustrations. And it's like, we should be effectively teaching the customer at the same time in regards to, this job ain't simple. We can give you an idea why it isn't simple. And then if the customer can't relate to that, then that's on the customer. But the reality is that job has to take a certain amount of time, and the book times or efficiency times, all that stuff doesn't work. It's a nice idea, doesn't work in reality. And that's also why we're getting crap products, because we're forced to work excessively fast for a job that maybe just needs a bit more time on it. So yeah,
I always believe that quality does not come from funding. Does not come from the amount of money
no,
spent on it. I have stated many times that the brilliance of an idea comes from the individual or the people that created it.
Yeah.
I have many examples to share, but let's just toy with the very notion of that. If someone has a good idea that they like, if money should not really reflect the concept of the idea's quality.
No.
Because, for example, say hypothetically, I had an idea for a movie. Let's go on topic of The Dark Knight, and let's say I had an idea for a new Batman movie, and it would be Bruce Wayne. Let's just say it was a Bruce Wayne that became a villain or something like that, or a Bruce Wayne that decided to take up the mantle of a different animal or something. I'm just making just a general idea here. Yeah, not something to look into. And I really like that idea, and others like that idea, and people came in and helped me. So how do I bring this idea to life? There are ways that people can create. Well, I've been told many times, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there will be certain people that can help people that have tools at their disposal. Because let's face it, tools help. Tools don't help an idea. If I had literally nothing to create this idea and a piece of pen and paper, myself specifically, you'll find out very quickly on my channel that I encourage and endorse any type of creativity, any way to create something, go for it. You have so many tools at your disposal, both with funding and without, that you can use to create such ideas. And there should be encouragement for you to do it. Now, granted, there is then, if people got wind of the idea and really, really liked it and wanted to see it, naturally the person that made the idea goes, right, good, I've got an audience. I've got people that love my idea. I want to give this idea to them to get the satisfaction of making others happy and knowing my idea has merit and is appreciated. Then we've got the second constant. After the idea is conjured, you have time, which you very much said. Yeah. Money, all the amount of money in the world cannot make the time go any quicker on a product. I think a good way of looking at that, I will come back to the Dark Knight trilogy, Avatar. Yep. Now, granted, the first idea of the first film earned a lot of money, and it's the number one gross film in the world. So James Cameron did earn a lot. Yeah, lucky God. But the sequel to Avatar did not come out for ages. Yeah. He didn't like the scripts. No, he wanted to create scripts for a large number of films, not just one. He said, if we're returning to this world, we're returning to this world with a much bigger and more ambitious story than the first. Yeah. No amount of money given to James Cameron, being the number one grossed film in the world, made that time go any quicker. No. That was very passionate of me there. Can you see? It's evident. Avatar 1, biggest film in the world. And Avatar 2, Avatar 1 came out in 2007. Avatar 2 came out in 2022. Feel like it did? Yeah. 2022, 2021, something like that. Yes. So it's more than 10 years later. Just 20. Like, that's bad. But Avatar 2, granted, wasn't as good as the first one, but was still quite a solid foundation for other films to come. And still made a lot of money. I think it's fourth. Yeah. It's the fourth biggest film in the world. Yeah. But he didn't buckle under the weight of, if I chuck money at this, it go fast. Yeah. No. Hold your horses. Yeah, it's a lot of things there with us now. Like, we see the government just putting money into things and going, oh, what's the problem? I was like, nah, there's issues going on online. These sort of, besides the money. As again, there's people. Patience. It's people. I get it. I have a problem with patience. Because when you want something, or you can do something, particularly me, in my early days of learning my creative skills, go back to the constant of the idea. I had something in my head and I didn't have the skill set at my disposal to create the idea. Yeah. I remember, let's go juvenile with this. As a child, I had an idea. I just watched Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. Yeah. And I really loved the concept of the symbiote, and I wanted to create my own symbiote persona, almost Spider-Man-esque. So I wanted to be able to draw that and then bring that idea to life. As a child, when I watched Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, my sketching capabilities were not developed enough. Like drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing, and no instance of what I drew on a piece of paper was what I liked. And I grew impatient with myself. I should be able to do this because I can see it very, 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 very clearly in my head what I want. I can't get it down on paper. I can't convey what I want.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do that now, I could. But first of all, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
That's it. Going to school, college, university, and years of the university, I'll find rest of the I wanted to do, and get to a point where I was comfortable with my sketching capabilities. I would say I have room for improvement. I'm nowhere near mastered. I'm okay at sketching. I've just got room for improvement. There should be there should be like I've just
Interesting. You say that. I spend time again. Like, there's a shortage of like menu workers, I don't know. And I'll tell you for a fact, shortage of workers, because the guys who are trying to teach him have no patience. And they've got some serious anger issues going on. I won't go into detail for that, but that's there's some like you're not teaching guys, you're just hoping that they're cheap labor. It's like no, just you're now in a dying industry because you just assumes the young guys were capable. It's like, you're clever then. Or you can give them time to be capable. It's like, stupid. There's a shortage of mechanics going on. No, no, that. But there is. There's tons of mechanics who are asking for mechanics. Like, hang on, all the older veterans are dying off, and there's no replacements for the young team for the young to come in. It's like, you shot yourself in the foot there. Didn't even realise it because you weren't patient enough. And also, the other thing that's pain in the arse is you speak to the veterans, you speak to the guys who've been in the industry for ages. You have a conversation, and they go, "Oh, I've made tons of mistakes in the past." And then for whatever reason, when you're young, you can't make the same mistakes in the industry as well. They go, "Oh, hang on, doesn't work out. Like if you're making mistakes, why can't I make the same mistakes if I'm trying to learn the same trade?" You know. It's sort of weird, but then I think I kind of want to sort of finish slightly on, or not finish slightly on, but like the workers generally have no reward now. So housing crash, sort of stuff. Housing market's dying because there's too many checks and balances on sort of some things. I can't go into detail with it. Can't go into detail on it because slightly still my family a little bit. It's probably not one place to say. But the housing market is struggling, put it that way. But I'm going to use the American Dream as an example because it's the only sort of cultural reference I can use. But you used to be able to work a 9-to-5 job, be able to afford a house, have a living, family, have all sorts of stuff. We don't have that. We're working just to survive, just to get food on the table. We're not working to then create a legacy or a family or a bit of that. People's motivation right now is just to work, just to get fuel in their car, just to eat some food. There's no, there's no, I want to have my house. I want to create a family. I want to do all this. None of that's happening. The only possible thing you've got right now is a rent at a squeeze with a double income. So it's almost like people are working, but they're scratching at a hole made of sand. They're not really moving forward. So you've got to sort out this sort of these head honchos having bonuses that don't need bonuses. The bonuses need to die. Like, if you're going to pay your workers, pay workers that what they need to just pay the workers what they need to survive, sort of thing. Bonuses to workers, nothing much, because I 20 quid on top of your paycheck or something. So nothing really. It would just be taxed. But if you pay your worker a decent wage, sweet. But also, like, if a company's struggling, and this is the worst bit, if a company is struggling, it does need to collapse. And that sucks. Like, the families involved in all this kind of stuff, but something else needs to replace it that's better.
So there's two things. Action. I won't speak on that because I don't necessarily understand, and it's not something I can relate to there.
Yeah.
But from what you said, there's two things that really struck with me. Number one, when you said people barely can afford to get from point A to B in their car. At a time of my life where I had to take a step back, I could not work because my head would not allow me to. It got to a point in my career of teaching where the stress got so high that I became a shell of my former self. And I called the doctor, and the doctor very much said to me, stop working. The medical opinion of my doctor and the hospital was stop working.
It sounds similar to how it used to. Oh, no, so
you don't have to, of course. In this time, I was given sick pay. So, what I worked for gave me the money that I needed to live and survive. But the longer that time went on, ticked. The thought of returning to work sent me into a spiral, a big panic. And I realized, here is my common denominator. Right now, I cannot be in that place of work. Otherwise, my mental health will suffer. I need to leave. I was very fortunate that I had a company with me that helped me get out with little to no money. It was all words. It was all talking. It was all just hanging out on the table and saying, this is what needs to be done. Granted, after a certain point in time, that meant I didn't have a job. I wasn't getting paid, and I wasn't earning anything. So I was just running on fumes, just running on savings, and all of the things I had. However, I had rent to pay. I had electricity. I had water. I had fuel. I had food, drinks. And that was basically all I was doing as well. All of the little things, the subscriptions I had to keep me happy, to keep me entertained, to keep me very much sane. My gaming, my drawing, and my social activities stopped. All stopped. And the whole point of this is to speak up out. So I'll say, I think, and the lowest I got was when I was walking around my apartment and for pound coins to get me to drive.
Calm down.
Yeah. And I just thought I'm still not mentally there. I'm not earning money. I can't afford petrol. And I need to drive to get to I went back to my job at the Wibbon. And always love my boss. A good man, a very, very good man, a very good friend of mine, for saying, for goodness sake, I don't care because I don't have like staff advertising at the moment. Get your ass back here. I will give you what you need to to survive.
Yeah.
I still needed to drive there because I lived in Guildford.
Yeah.
And no one knows this until now.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time to say it. I was scrapping for pennies
Yeah.
to live, to survive, because I wasn't earning enough.
Mm.
And I made the very, 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 very silly mistake of continuing to put the money that I had to earn into to rent and to lifestyle changes for and I will not go into detail with that because I don't wish to. I don't want to speak up about that just yet. About going places, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
As many of you that know me personally will very much know what I'm trying to say. I went places and I made lifestyle changes which required more money for certain things and certain constants in my life. They're very towards the end of last year changed. And I had nothing to my name. And it was all a reflection on mental health and the capability for me getting a career during that time. I didn't want to go back into anything that would push me into a state where I was a liability.
Oh yeah.
And it hurt me a lot. To know that, and it's nothing against the original career that I had. It's very clear I got to that point in my mental health. Other things in my life, of course. But I get here for fun. Certain things that I needed as a teacher to help me do things for certain attributes in the classroom, for myself and for others, and to employ other people as well to get the help of others. It wasn't that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying woe is me, but because of the state of my mental health at the time, all of that on top of it made me buckle. If I was a stronger person at the time, who knows, I could have persisted, pushed forward. I'm not going into a lens of what could have been, because if I constantly wonder what could be, and I'm not focused on what I can do, you know. But I felt that resonate when you said people struggling to afford money because of certain things. Because I had to, now granted, loads of people have to take a step back because of mental health now and their jobs. And I would encourage you, if you very much feel as though you can't go into work one day, talk to your job, talk to your person who runs your career, to anyone that can help you, and just lay it out on the table. Because again, very much like we've spoken before, you can't move forward without being strong with your ideals and yourself.
Yeah, true. I think I just want to slightly caveat that though, because I'm in a trading's point of view. There isn't that framework to do so. Like, if you're gonna do that, whatever you think about the trade, whatever, they are going to tell you they are going to take pieces. As soon as you show some sort of vulnerability, they are going to know it. I only speak from experience. So if you are dealing with issues in regards to like a trade or anything like that, try to look to your family first, because chances are the trade won't, like, because there is no HR. It's kind of weird. You know, HR's don't know. HR's pretty complicated.
Let's not get into. I think.
Say that. Yeah. So if you are struggling with mental health in regards to the trades, look to your family first, and then try and scope out the best person. And if you can't go to your family, try and work out the best person close to you or working close to you in that job who's more open to you.
Unions.
I wouldn't go wrong.
I don't know from the trade perspective.
I wouldn't go unions either. I would literally just go to people again.
Okay.
Work out. So if your colleague is working close to you in that job all the time, if you think they're empathetic enough or like are in an emotional state enough to be able to sort of help you out, go to them or go to your family first. Going to like the trade companies is a general point of rule.
Yeah.
You're gonna like granted banter and jokes, all that sort of stuff, but there will be certain people who will look to that as an exploitation and use it. Just for experience. So I remember a couple of years back in the trade where I was scoped. I'm not a usual mechanic. I know that. I don't look like it, and for a fact. And because I don't look like your usual mechanic, people size you up. And you have to bear your own weight on that one. You have to sort of suck it up slightly, like build the strength to a degree in that sort of world, just so you got the armor on. It's as soon as you go back home or you've got someone close to you, I would open up then, just because the trade and the non sort of company sort of the odd company framework that our trade is built currently can't accept that. As much as it looks like they can, they can't. So that's my experience currently. That's the only way I'd sort of look around that issue. That's the only way I'll try and navigate it. So yeah.
I think that is a very good point for us to come back to the Dark Knight in respect. Let's take a look at we've spoken about Thomas Wayne and what he's done with his company. He handed it over to people that he believed to be like-minded. Similar principles. Of course, the tragedy of the Waynes happens. Bruce Wayne loses Thomas and Martha in the incident, a very famous incident that turned him into an orphan. And Thomas, of course, the whole Gotham becomes money. Money is power. Money is vision. I can do what I like with my money. You get villains. Well, in the Dark Knight trilogy, you don't get the Penguin, but you get villains like the Penguin who exploits it to be the mafia. But in the Dark Knight trilogy specifically, we have Bruce Wayne, we have the orphan. Very much loads of orphans. Very many people don't have any money to their name and have to wait for people to come and give them a new home. Otherwise, they're in an orphanage. Bruce Wayne, the orphan, inherited all of the money from Thomas. He became the next big Wayne, and he was just a boy with Commissioner Gordon coming along, putting his arm around his and very much saying, like, it's all right, kid, you'll be fine. We're here to help. Alfred coming along and being very much the father figure in Bruce's life, having to be that stern, like, come on, Mr. Wayne. I think it's quite interesting to look at that in terms of just the Dark Knight itself. Bruce Wayne being an orphan, but being fortunate enough to have all the money, very much being alone in his home. He has all the money, and as an orphan, it doesn't give him it doesn't take the pain away for him. So what does he do with the money? Of course, he uses that. We'll go into the element of fear into the next one. But in terms of the responsibility, he uses it for self-betterment. For self-betterment first, becoming someone he thought he needed to be. Then, of course, the whole, again, I'm going on the cusp of fear here again. So I won't go into that just yet. But in terms of the whole facade of Bruce Wayne, to separate himself from Batman, Bruce Wayne becomes the almost early Bruce Wayne in the trilogy, Dark Knight trilogy. I would liken to Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Like in general, he became a philanthropist.
Yeah.
Essentially flaunting his money, buying his way into companies, essentially going, I'll buy this, I'll buy that. I'm Bruce Wayne. I'm a ladies' man. I can do what I like.
Well, he's even called out for it, isn't it?
Mischiefs in the trilogy.
It is Batman being. Was it Dark Knight? I can't remember. But his friend goes, "Oh, damn it! I can't remember the quote now." And it's Rebecca, I think. He comes out the restaurant, and he's like
Rachel.
Rachel. That's it. Yeah.
Yes, this is the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I know the scene you're thinking of.
What did she say? I can't remember now, but I just remember specifically the quote sticking with me. I can't remember what it was.
It's basically like you can't throw money at stuff. That's right.
Along those lines, it's not what you what. Let's try that again.
Okay,
It's not who you're underneath, but it's what you do that defines you.
with that, how good mental mistakes and would you research before the podcast? But
The floor is difficult.
yeah, it's very much as you describe. It's not what you do, is that?
It's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you.
It's not who you are underneath. It's what you do. Yeah. Okay. So, how are you going to use your money?
Yeah.
How is you going to use your wealth for a good thing? And he obviously he puts a lot of funding into his Batman tech.
Yeah.
To become the vigilante that he needs to be, the hero he needs to be. Bruce Wayne as a person, specifically in other media, outside of the Dark Knight, Bruce Wayne throws his money in a problem to just go like everything's fine. I'm Mr. Cool Bruce Wayne. He's more focused on being the Batman, than he is a good user of money.
I think at the end of Batman Begins or Dark Knight, one or two. I think where Wayne Manor burns down, and he rebuilds it, but I think he sells it off as is it the end of Batman? I think maybe the end of the trilogy, but he sells his mansion off, and it becomes an orphanage.
It must be the end of the Dark Knight, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I rebuild it bit by brick, and he sells it off as an orphanage. And I kind of, that's sort of one of the places where I can kind of see that sort of the neck of the woods. But even the bat suit itself is kind of an investment in well design. He believes it's good.
And what happens as the Dark Knight rises? It is exploited by people.
Yeah.
That has a vision of power. He puts all of his funding into make bat pots.
Yeah.
All of the camouflaged things.
Yeah.
He makes loads of bat suits, loads of weaponry, gadgets.
Yeah.
And when his suit is not good enough, when he relies solely on the wealth of Batman to fight back against Bane, nature, the living force of nature, beats him within an inch of his, breaks him. Body, soul, mind, yes. Takes all of his tech and uses it for evil purposes. To destroy the city. And quite literally throws him into a pit and goes like, the next time you see me is when Gotham is nothing. So, well done, Bruce. The very things that you bought, we're using it for evil now. So he didn't focus on his inner discipline as a human because he thought money could make Batman a better person. And didn't. And it wasn't until he was the beauty of the Dark Knight Rises and he was reborn in the pit, re-emerged as a new Bruce Wayne and Batman always kind of it just couldn't help with it as a nitpick. I couldn't help but think Batman should have spoken as almost like a Bruce Wayne at that point. It always should be a more Bruce Wayne or sort of like merged voice, which was the only Yeah, I think it's some piece yeah, yes. More Bruce Wayne, like benefits.
Yeah,
Just like then you like permission to unalive.
yeah. Yeah.
It's just that him still talking about Batman. His Batman voice in Dark Knight Rises was quite goofy in some moments. But
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
much baby. Still green from the topic of
Yeah, no. Yeah.
uh,
I think that's where we can do it, I think.
and so
Yeah.
it's a short one. So good.
Yeah.
That's just with the editing.
Ah,
Just an just over an hour, I think.
yeah.
Feasible. It's always a factory at length of time. That's where that's I think that covers it because I wanted to talk about Bruce. I know you wanted to talk about Thomas.
Mm,
To be honest, we spoke about Harvey Dent and we spoke about our experiences as well.
yeah.
To kind of talks back a bit, basically, the second point of what I wanted to tell you, but then with the money thing to my name,
Mm,
the second bit was the Bruce Wayne bit. Like, how do you take someone who goes through very unfortunate circumstances and still has money to their name,
yeah.
and yet money does not take away anything?
Yeah.
It's how do you use money for power responsibility? Bruce used it
Mm,
for responsibility
Mm.
because he was still a broken soul inside.
Yeah.
Money still missed the mark.
Yeah.
And when you've got good intentions and your soul is in the right place, money can do the things in the end, get you to places to do the right thing with you. Because, oh well, you know,
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to end, unless you have anything else to say. Any final remarks?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I sort of, I just want to sort of, I always cover it because it's important now.
I understand.
Yeah. And like, as much as I'm not an expert, I think just get the ideas out there. You know, at least I put my word in. At least I've tried something. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
So therefore ends episode 8, part 1.
Yeah.
In part 2, we're very much to film this episode. It's always English on the mind. We're going to approach the same idea of how does wealth direct the Waynes towards responsibility or power. Instead of money, this is going to be a concept of fear driving people to do things, which is very clever little with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Thomas Wayne less so, I'd say. Johnson. Yeah. You're scared, Robert. It's not. So, stay tuned for the part 2 will be released next week at the usual time. And then after part 2, we'll get to another episode. Yeah. So that ends part 1. See you in part 2, guys.
See you soon.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Yeah. For an evening, or maybe we're out of the world. Bye.